What's up guys, in this video I'm going to show you every single supply that you need to have in order to start your first tattoo. So you want to do your first tattoo and you have no clue what to buy. So in this video I'm going to show you every single item that I use to get my tattoos done. Okay, now the items that you see here are not absolutely everything that I used, but I kept it to the bare minimum just so you have the essentials that you need to buy when starting your first tattoo. Now little by little you can add other things and you can basically broaden your arsenal of tools that you're going to be able to use. But with everything that I'm showing you guys on this table, you're going to be able to do a very basic tattoo and can get you started in your career, in your learning process. So the first item that I think is essential, obviously, is the tattoo machine. This machine is the only machine that I use to do all of my tattoos. I don't use anything else. I have about 3 of these machines that I keep as spare, just in case this one breaks down. You know how they say that if you have 2 of one thing, you have one, and if you have one thing of something, you have absolutely nothing. So make sure that you always have a spare for your machine, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you know your machine broke in the middle of the tattoo and you have nothing else to use. Okay, now this machine is from FK Irons. I've been using them for a very long time. They're a very reliable company and they're very well known, and I definitely recommend their products. They have newer machines. This is one of their older styles, but I really like it, specifically because I'm not a big fan of the battery machines. I prefer to have a wire to my machine, and this machine gives me that capability. Now, having said that, there's other things that you're gonna have to buy in order to make this machine run, because it won't run by itself. So those things are your power supply. You're going to need a clip cord, and you're gonna need a foot pedal. Okay. Now, as far as the power supply, I've been using Critical for a very long time. That's what they specialize on. They also sell batteries for machines that if you prefer running your machine wirelessly, they have that as well. Mind you, none of these companies are really endorsing me to say any of this, but these are just the products that I use, and I'm just sharing it with you guys. So Critical is a great power supply. I've never had an issue with it. It's never broken. They have several models. This is a very basic model. I keep my setup pretty simple, but I really like it and it works really well. As far as my clip cord, and for some of you guys who may not know, the clip cord is what's gonna go into your machine, and the other side of the clip cord is going to go into the power supply. Now, when I started tattooing, I used to have issues all the time where my clip cord would break or it would have some sort of short in it, and it was always an issue. It was always an issue. As a matter of fact, I have a colleague of mine that he actually ended up switching to using wireless because he always had issues with clip cord. I had the same problem until I found this brand. These clip cords are from TATSoul, and they are a tattoo supply company. I also get my power supply from them. It's a little bit expensive for a clip cord. It's like 50 bucks, and I believe so is the foot pedal. It's about the same price, maybe a little bit more. I know it's definitely not less than 50 bucks, but they're so good that I can't even remember the last time that I bought one. I usually replace them maybe like once every 5 years. I mean, these things are unbreakable, and so is this cable. I usually replace it anywhere between 3 and 5 years, and they work amazing. So I definitely recommend you guys to check them out. And in the description for the video, I'll make sure that I list all the supply companies that I use to buy these products, in case you guys don't catch on. But that's basically what you would need to run your tattoo machine. You can also have the alternative, which is basically replacing the power supply, and it's having a wireless tattoo machine. This is actually a masked tattoo machine. I've actually never used this machine before. I just had it laying around in the studio. As a matter of fact, I did a small tattoo with this machine not long ago, now that I remember, and it went pretty well. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use this machine because this is a very affordable machine. This machine is about like from 150 to 180 bucks. You can buy it on Amazon, and for somebody who's starting out, I think it's a really solid machine. So later I will do a video using this machine so you guys can see it at work, and I will do a review on it, and so you guys have a little bit more information on it. But it's definitely a good option for somebody who's starting out and it's on a lower budget. The machine that I use costs, I don't know exactly the number, but I know it's anywhere between $600 to $700. So this is a little bit more on the higher end. This is a little bit cheaper, and it works well. It just doesn't last as long, and it has its kinks. But for somebody who's starting out, it's a really good machine. Okay, so now that you have the machine, you have to set it up, and in order to set it up, you're gonna need a few different things. Now, because I use a clip cord, I need a clip cord cover. Okay, these are disposable. You're only gonna use this once, and this has several uses. You can cover your clip cord with it, which is the main purpose for it. And the reason why you want to cover your clip cord is because when you're tattooing, sometimes your cord could potentially go over the client's skin. And if that happens, you don't want to have the bare cord, because then you're basically cross-contaminating between one client and the other. So it's very important to have this on your clip cord. And then when you're done tattooing, you remove it and you throw it away, okay? There's other use that you can use for it, like you can actually cover part of the machine with it. I don't actually cover my machine like this, but I've seen people that actually cover their entire machine with it. You can also cut bits and pieces of it, and you can just kind of use it in the front, and it works really well as well. So the next item that you're going to need is going to be, you're going to need a razor. Always have disposable razors so you can prep your client. And along with a razor, you want to have alcohol as well, because you want to shave your client's skin, and then obviously you're going to throw this away once you're done shaving your client. And then you're going to prep the skin by using alcohol, okay? Now, alcohol does not sterilize your area, which is very important to know. You're going to need something else, which is called Mada-Cide. They have products that are called Mada-Cide or Mada-Cide that you can use to sterilize the area, that actually kill viruses. Okay, so this is the one that I have here, is actually Mada-Cide. And this thing kills basically all germs, all viruses, all bacteria. You absolutely gotta have this in order to always clean your station with this before the tattoo, and you can use it, you have to use it after the tattoo. So this is very, very important to have, okay? So the next thing you're gonna need is distilled water, and you're going to need some type of antibacterial soap. I use green soap. This stuff is extremely old. I mean, this thing has been around ever since probably way before I started tattooing. I've been tattooing for 14 years. And one of the things that I remember about walking into a studio is the smell of this green soap. This is classic. To this day, I still use it. A lot of people may not use it, but this is my go-to for basically cleaning the tattoo as I'm working. And the way that you use this is you want to use that along with your distilled water, and you want to have a squeeze bottle that you're going to fill up with a mixture of green soap and distilled water. So you're gonna do a very small amount of distilled soap, probably less than a finger or so, and you're gonna fill the rest of the bottle up with distilled water. And you want it to have a very light yellow, almost white color to it, because it does have a little bit of alcohol in it, and it kind of burns the skin when you use it if it's too soapy. But it's great to clean the area, and it removes any kind of excess ink when you're tattooing. So you definitely need this. And you might want to have a couple of these bottles, because you definitely need one for the green soap or whichever soap you want to use. You also are going to need one for your alcohol, okay? So make sure you have at least 2 of those. What else do you need? You're gonna need a tongue depressor, and you're gonna need some type of lubrication for the skin. I use Vaseline just because it's like a cheaper option that you can get. But there are other options out there that you can use. Aquaphor, it's one that a lot of people like to use, and now in the industry they have other products like this one. This one's called Ink Ease. That is a product that you can buy to basically do the same thing. I just think it's a little bit too expensive for what it is. It's like 20 bucks versus you can get a tub of Vaseline for like $5, and it kind of does the same job. I mean, some people claim that it's like better or whatnot, and I'm sure it is, but I keep things pretty simple. I mean, I think as a tattoo artist, there's a lot of different supplies that you have to buy. So I personally like to be a little bit conservative when buying my supplies, because I prefer putting that money towards like an expensive machine, which I think is important. I think it's very important to have the best needles that you can possibly buy, because that's, you know, that has a direct effect on the tattoo that you're doing, and your inks have to be the best quality. So like those are the things that I would say don't spare any money on. So yeah, now you're also going to need, let me see, you don't necessarily gotta have this, because this is something that is the client's responsibility, but it's good to have some type of aftercare cream or ointment. This is just one example, which is called Sana Sana, and it's a CBD healing balm. I also recommend my clients Aquaphor. It's really good for after healing, for the aftercare of the tattoo. But you know, it's not necessarily something you need to have per se, but it's something you're gonna need for the tattoo, because obviously the client needs it. You also need these wraps, which you can get in Amazon for a pretty good price. You get a bunch of these. You can get like 100 of these in a box for maybe like 20-30 bucks, and they last a long time if you know how to use it conservatively, which I'll show you later when we do a video talking about setting up. You're gonna need a rinse cup. This is something you're gonna need because when you're tattooing, as you know, or you may not know, you're dipping your machine into the ink, and sometimes that ink needs to, it dries up on the needle and you need to like rinse it off. Or another thing that may happen is you need to switch from one color to the next. So you need to like rinse off your needle in order to dip into the next color. So this is something that is very important to have. You absolutely gotta have this. You don't need to have a rinse cup that is so large. You can have smaller ones. I have found that these work really great for me, and again, this is something that you can buy pretty much at any store for a really cheap price. There are alternatives in the market that are specifically for tattoo, like these hive cups. They're pretty cool because they have spots for your needle cartridge, and you can sit them there as you're using other cartridges, and it keeps it wet. It keeps it from drying up in the cartridge. These are just a little bit more expensive to buy. I personally don't find the need to have these, but you know, it's an option that you can have. Obviously, you're gonna need, speaking of cartridges, you're gonna need needles or cartridges. I would say if you're starting out, you need at least lining cartridges, okay? Now, you don't want to start with a single needle. You want to start with something larger. You can do either a 3 or a 5 for practice, or even a 7. I think a 3 or a number 3 or a number 5 is a good number to start out and to get practice, okay? Because you definitely want to start out by doing outlines. Outlines is the most important thing that you need to learn when you're starting to use your machine. It's gonna help you get accuracy, and it's just the basic. It's just tattoo 101. You need to know how to do a good outline. So this brand specifically, I've been using for years. They're not per se the best, but they're super reliable. They work really well. They're from Canada. Their name is T-Tech, and you can go to their website, ttech.com, and you can get their needles. I no longer use these needles for coloring or shading, but I still keep them for outlining because they work really well and I really like them. As a matter of fact, I'm shopping for some new outline needles, so eventually I might end up phasing these out. But if you're starting out and you're on a budget, these are great needles to buy, and they're gonna do the job really, really well, okay? The tongue depressor, it's very important. I'm not sure if I showed it already, but it's basically, you need a tongue depressor because when you're getting the Vaseline or whatever lubrication you're using out of the tub, you don't want to stick your fingers in there, you know what I mean? Because you're going to be cross-contaminating, or just in general, it's not a good practice. So you want to use one of these in order to be able to get the ointment out of here, put it on your working station, okay? Now, once you use this once, you don't put it back into the tub. You only use it once. You might use the other end, but if you laid it out on your station, you don't use it again. You don't put it back into the tub ever, okay? This is Lubriderm. It's just a regular body lotion. A lot of artists use this for cleaning the tattoo as they're working. I personally don't use it. I stick to my green soap. That's just the way that I like to clean my tattoos. Mainly because I've been doing it for a long time and I'm a creature of habit. But I've heard people talk really good about using Lubriderm instead of using green soap to clean the tattoo. So this is another option that you may want to consider. I personally don't use it, but you can use it. Let's see what else. Oh, so for setting up the station, there's a few things that I use to basically to have a barrier on my surfaces, okay? Now, I already spoke about the clip cords, the clip cord sleeves, which are to put a barrier into the cable that you're going to use for tattooing. But there are other things that I like to have. I like to buy this barrier film, which is really nice because it's almost like self-adhesive to some degree. And I like using it for example, my squeeze bottles. I like covering up like this with the barrier film. It works really well. It's convenient. There are other ways you can do it. You can actually, I've seen some, actually back in the day, I used to buy the little sandwich bags, the ones that don't have the zipper or the top. And I used to just cut a little tip of it and I would put it into my squeeze bottle, and that would do the job. But later on I found the barrier film, and it works really well. I also use it to cover the front of my machine because you want to make sure that your machine also has some type of barrier. And I also use it to cover my power supply. I actually use 2 pieces, but just to kind of show you guys, because as I'm tattooing, sometimes I'm changing the voltage of the power supply, and you want to make sure that this is covered as well. So in the case of my setup, which I use the power supply, you definitely want to have some sort of barrier film. There's other alternative. You can also use a sandwich bag. You can use plastic wrap as well. Now this, for me, is like the king of everything. I use this for absolutely everything. I lay it on my station, and this is where I put my entire setup. I basically lay this down on my station. I put like several pieces of this, and then I lay my station down on it. I use it for everything. I cover a lot of surfaces with this. This is definitely my go-to when creating barriers for tattooing. You can use it on the lamp you're working on. You can use it on the chair you're working on. You can use it on the armrest that you're working on to make sure that it's sanitized. You can use it pretty much on anything. So this is something that I definitely recommend you always have. You gotta have this, and this is super cheap. You can buy at any drugstore or just any store in general, and it's extremely cheap. You guys should know it's like $3 to get that. Super important. Let's see what else. Oh, an alternative to this when setting up the station, which I personally don't use. It does look a little bit nicer, looks a little bit neater when you lay it on for a station. It's a dental bib. These black ones are really nice. My colleague here uses it, but I personally don't like it. I think the plastic does a better job, but it does look nicer when setting up your station. So, you know, if you're kind of like a neat freak and you want your station to like look a certain way, this is one good way to do it. Medical tape, I think I already showed you guys. You could use this to also set up, you know, make sure that you tape down your station if you want to, or you can use it for like wrapping up your client after you're done tattooing them. You can use like there's different things you can use to like wrap up your client, and I'll tell you about it later. But you know, you can definitely use this, and it's just good to have around. So another thing you absolutely gotta have is gloves. These are the gloves that we have here today. As a matter of fact, these are latex gloves, by the way. Most artists use latex gloves. You can get other alternatives as well. I like using nitrile gloves, nitrile gloves personally, because some clients are actually allergic to latex. And if you don't know, that could be an issue. It's not a very common thing that happens, but I just like using those as a rule of thumb. That way, you know, if anybody is allergic, I'm already prepared and I have what they need. Okay? And then obviously you're gonna need ink. You're going to need, I would recommend, to start out, I would recommend this exact ink that I have here, which is Eternal Lining Black. Eternal Lining Black. I've been using Eternal, guys, probably since I started tattooing. It's never failed me. It's probably, to me, the best product as far as ink goes in the market. There are other really great products as well that I can mention, like Fusion or World Famous, but this is the one that I've been using ever since I started tattooing. Okay, now if you're just starting out, you don't need anything else than this. With this, you can lay out your lines, you can fill in the spaces, and if you want to venture out and do like a little bit of black and gray, you can also just dilute this with, you can use water. You can also buy something like this, which is a mixing solution. This one's from Dynamic. I personally just dilute my black with the same green soap mix that I use for like cleaning the tattoos. But you know, you have some people use witch hazel, and that seems to work really well as well. So, you know, you take your pick. That's why I lay this one out here, because it's a choice, but you can pick however you do it. I personally use the same mix that I tattoo with, which is distilled water and green soap. Now, when it comes to stenciling your tattoo, to make sure you put it on your client, you're gonna need a Stencil Solution. This is a professional gel for stencil primer. Okay, so for stenciling, you're obviously gonna need stencil paper. This is what is commonly used in the industry. You can get this also like at Amazon or any tattoo supply store or online. And is your basic stencil paper. I mean, if you're just starting out and you don't have like a stenciling machine or something like that, you could literally just like stencil things by hand. And I'll show you that, guys. I'll show you that on another video, how you can do that. And I'll show you every other way that you can also stencil your tattoo. So, but just starting out, I'm assuming you're gonna be doing very basic tattoos. So all you really need is your stencil product, and you're gonna need stencil paper, and obviously you need like a pen in order to stencil your tattoo. And obviously along with that, you're gonna need some type of computer or iPad or some type of tablet along with a printer in order to print your images out. And then you can use that image to stencil it over and apply it on your client, okay? Now, when it comes to, oh, another thing that that I missed was ink caps, okay? Now, these are the ink caps that I commonly use. I think they are stable bottoms, number 16s. This is just the main cap that I use. I don't use any other size because I don't use needles that are extremely large, and these fit perfect for the needles that I use. Now these caps, I really love them because, as you can see here, they have a flat bottom, okay? The traditional caps that were actually the opposite. It was weird because they were like angled out like that, and they would tip over, but these caps don't tip over at all because of the way the bottom is designed. So if you're gonna get ink caps, well, you're gonna get ink caps. So when you're gonna get ink caps, you definitely want to get stable bottom ink caps. Don't forget that, because it's really important and it's going to help you. It's going to make your life easier. And then lastly, when it comes to, let's see, make sure you always have a Sharpie. And oh, this is another thing that is really neat. You may not necessarily need it if you're just starting out, but this thing is such a lifesaver. It's an ink mister, a paint mixer, and this thing costs like 15 bucks on Amazon, guys, and this saves me so much time because when I do my color tattoos, sometimes it takes me anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour just to set up, to lay out all the inks. Sometimes I have upwards of like 30 to 40 ink caps that I've laid out on my station, okay? And this is a great way of like mixing the inks and saving time. I used to have to do it by hand, and it would take forever, and then the ink would like spill over everywhere. This has like saved my life, and it saves me so much time. So it's very important that you have one of these whenever you're gonna start just moving on and like having more like a bigger ink setup, okay? And lastly, when it comes to wrapping up your tattoo, you know, you finish your tattoo, now you obviously have to cover that tattoo. You don't want your client to, or your friend or whoever you're tattooing on, you don't want them to leave your tattoo area, your tattoo studio, and go outside with an uncovered tattoo. So you gotta wrap up the tattoo. There's several ways to do it, and I'll go over that on another video, but there's different things you can do. You can use the same plastic wrap. I use this for the most part. It's a second skin. I don't know exactly the brand of this one per se. I bought this one on Amazon. I've gone through like 3 or 4 different brands, and this one has been working out really well for me. So I'm gonna look into the link of it, and I'm gonna put it below so you guys will know. But this is a really great product, guys, to cover your tattoo. Another great product is, I don't have it here with me, but it's a new product that came out that is called Tattoo Armor. And it's basically like it's a pad that you put on the tattoo, and then you tape it on, and it basically soaks up all the body fluids, and it just kind of like helps with the tattoo healing. And you can get a cheaper alternative. I have these right here. These are just like disposable underpads, and they have sort of the same material inside. It's not as sturdy as the full armor, but you know, it works, especially like on a larger tattoo. If you wanna go ahead and, you know, have these just as spare, it's a good thing. I use them a lot when like my clients are taking a break. They're gonna go eat lunch or whatever. They have to leave the studio. I grab one of these, I wrap it up on the area that I'm working, tape it on with my medical tape, and I make sure that, you know, their tattoo is safe as they leave the studio. That basically wraps. Oh, obviously, I forgot. Paper towel. You need paper towel. Okay, this is an essential. If you're a tattoo artist, you should know how much you need this and how much of it you're gonna use. We use a lot of this. Obviously, every time we're tattooing, as we're tattooing and we're wiping, tattooing and wiping, tattooing and wiping. So this is essential, okay? This is the most basic form. I know there are other products out there now that you can buy in order to wipe your tattoo down. I don't know exactly the name of the brand, so I won't mention them. I also haven't tried them. But I know there are some alternatives out there. This is the cheapest way, and it's the way that it's been done for a long time. I personally like Bounty. It's super sturdy. It doesn't break as you're wiping, and it works exceptionally. This is what I use on a day-to-day basis. So definitely recommend you guys to get, if you're gonna use the choice of going for paper towel, which is the cheapest option or the most economical option, I would say Bounty is your way to go. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up this video, guys. This is everything you need in order to start your tattooing journey. Obviously, there are other things that you can add to your arsenal as you develop your tattooing career, but for the most part, if you purchase everything you have on this table here, you're gonna be able to do just fine. You're gonna be able to get started on your tattoos. So I hope this video was of use for you guys. I hope it helps out to clear any doubts. Another thing that I recommend if you're just starting out is, one, to either have an apprenticeship, or if you can't get an apprenticeship, at least get in the know with like some local tattoo artists. When I was starting out, one of the things that I did was I started getting tattooed. And by getting tattooed, I became friends with my tattoo artist. I would ask him a lot of questions. And I would honestly ask him because I was curious. At the time, I wasn't even considering learning how to tattoo. But once I realized that I wanted to learn how to tattoo and I started, guess what? I had a lot of information because I was curious enough to ask my tattoo artist a lot of questions. And let me tell you guys, when you ask questions to somebody about what they love doing, they're gonna be super open and they're gonna tell you what they know. So don't be shy, don't be afraid to ask your artist, like if you have a question or two or whatever, and you know, get into the environment and start getting familiar with the craft of tattooing by being a tattoo client, by supporting the tattoo industry, and it'll be a good way to start preparing for your own journey. Okay, so that's something that I definitely recommend that you do. Okay, so basically that sums up everything you need in order to start your tattooing journey. If I left anything out, make sure that you leave it on the comment below. Also ask if you have any questions, also write them on the comment below. I'll make sure to read the comments, and I'll address all of your questions in other videos that I'll be doing, okay? Make sure that you hit the follow. If this video was useful to you, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit the notification button so that you're up to date with any other videos that we're going to be putting out, okay? So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.